Number 6C, Martha T. Berry Monthly Report. Director Evans.
Thank you, Mr.
Happy
Chair.
New Year.
Happy New Year to you. On a side note, I'd first like to introduce, I have somebody with me, Tabitha DeLugi. She is a U of M Flint intern. Her first day is with us, learning about healthcare administration.
Welcome aboard.
All right. So with that, we'll get started. I'd like to talk about the financial sustainability. We had a conversation at our last meeting about that, and I want to continue that conversation at the front. I also have some slides about our current county relationship on flow of cash, and then I have another slide on quality and slide on physical plant. So this will be a brief presentation. At the last meeting, we had discussed concerns about our budget and how best to make sure that we were sustainable. It's a different position that our two entities have because we're one entity in many ways. I am a county entity, discretely presented component of the county, and I need to make sure that it's financially sustainable without requiring any money coming from the county. At the same time, the county commissioners are required to have the good faith and be able to oversee to make sure that if we do things poorly, the county has to provide for that. So the reason that I attend these is to let you know that we're in good shape financially, and also let you know what we're looking to do to assure financial sustainability. Right after the meeting last month, I spent some time talking with the finance department, Steve Schmiegel, about the depreciation that is currently on the building that we have. Now, many years ago, that depreciation was put over just as an accounting change over onto the county books. And as we discussed the nuance of the Medicaid cost report and what is allowable expenses, he said, you know, it'd probably be better that you talk to Steve Adair, who's had a great deal of experience with that. So I appreciate Mr. Schmiegel recommending me to Steve Adair, because it really is something that is difficult to comprehend if you haven't been in the business a long time. I'll do my best to give you a simple explanation. Depreciation can be funded and is a reimbursable expense under the current reimbursement methodology. So I believe, Commissioner Carabelli, you had talked about how you're going to make sure that we can set a net aside to make sure that the building stays intact. This is a way that we can do that. You'll see here in just a couple of minutes, I have a building use of over $1 million that's going to be done in 2012. And then I have a number of other legacy expenses that we just have to take care of. But what we are doing right now is providing $600,000 a year out of our operating budget towards the capital programs that we're doing right now, and using this portion of it. However, the depreciation still is on the books at the county. We can get reimbursed for that up to 65 cents on the dollar, up to anything over what we expend. And I would like, and Steve Adair agreed that it makes sense, they don't get any benefit from that, and we'd like to move that depreciation back over onto the books of Martha T. Berry. It is essentially it's a transfer from yourself to yourself, if you will, but the benefits of us being a discretely presented component means that's now a reimbursable expense. I can then begin to fund it in next year's budget, and we can get money back for that. In that way, I can put a capital program together that can be robust based on the depreciation that's in the building, and make sure we have money when the need arises. Does that make sense?
Commissioner Drollet.
Well, you asked, does that make sense? So you opened that up. But
I did. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just quickly, you say you get reimbursed 65 cents on the dollar. Up to. Who do you get that reimbursement from?
The methodology is coming from the numbers that we submit in our cost report to the state of Michigan and to the federal government. We have 2 audits, one a Medicare audit and one a Medicaid audit.
So you get that money from the state and the federal government?
That is correct.
Okay. And right now, is the county getting reimbursement for that depreciation?
According to Mr. Dare, no. There is no material benefit for you because you're not under that reimbursement methodology.
Okay.
Only the facility itself is providing the services that we do under Medicare and Medicaid.
So if we shift it over to you, then we can get some. Then you are able to get some reimbursement from the feds and from the state that we're not currently able to do.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Brown.
Commissioner Gillette asked most of my questions. So when you talked to Steve Schmigel, what was the reasoning that they moved it in the first place?
He was not aware of why. I received that information from Jeff Ostermeyer from Plant Moran, who works with us internally. He said it was just part of a negotiation.
Is there a cost to move it over? Is there any?
I don't know if that's the case. I will find out, but we would incur the expense of that because that would also be reimbursable.
Seems to make sense. Almost too much sense, though. It makes me nervous. Thank you.
Thank you. Now you're making everybody nervous, Kevin. Please
It's
continue.
not the first time, Mr. Chair.
And I'm sure it's not the last. Pray continue.
Thank you. So let's take a look at what our relationship is right now. One of the concerns was that we're going to ask money from you, and we are not. Indeed, we're paying our way in its entirety. In 2017, our building use, which is for a bond ending in 2022, is over $1 million. The legacy costs that really are a drag on our budget, you see, I broke that out as the OPEB principal and interest, and the last payment on that is November of 2035, so we're going to have that for a long time. And we also have a cash contribution to make up what was the unfunded part of OPEB. We also have our pension, which out of pocket is $444,000. Utilities, of course, now that's something that gives us direct benefit operationally. We do adult day center, food and transportation. We purchase supplies, and there are some F&O repairs. When they do that, they bill us for those as well as fuel. So you can see all of that is money that comes directly back to the county, that there is, other than having to manage the accounting of that, we pay our way entirely. I hope that's helpful to you. We'll move on. Let's talk about quality. When I was asked to be the interim administrator in early 2016, we were 1-star in every way. We were 1-star in our overall rating, in the survey, and quality measures. By the end of 2016, we had moved our quality measures up a little bit. I'm pleased to say at the end of 2017, we've continued our improvement towards excellence with a 2-star rating overall. Our surveys are still at a 1-star, and we'll be there for 2 more years because it is frozen. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But I'm very excited to let you know that our quality measures have increased to a 4-star rating. Let's talk quickly about our accountability on the physical plant that you've entrusted to me. We have our kitchen renovation and a dining room renovation that is progressing on time right now. We will be putting bids out for that. It'll be roughly $3.7 million. Our nurses station alcoves and dining area refresh we will continue as cash allows. Next week we'll be receiving the generator study to cover the entire building. I think either Mr. Carabelli or Mr. Brown, Commissioner Brown had asked me to make sure that we covered the entire building when we did that study. Our call light system is slated in the second quarter this year. Access control is currently in place, and we expect to have by the end of February our security systems for all of our doors to be actively engaged. Video surveillance right now is about 30% towards completion. We put the HVAC analysis on hold because of all the other projects that we're doing right now. So I'm pulling that off the table. These were all things that we talked about last year. I told you we'd be working on, and we are successfully moving in that direction. I want to talk about, just briefly, some of the accomplishments for 2017 as well. In addition to the quality, after 12 years of needing CENA agency, we ran the last 3 months of 2017 CENA, Certified Nurse Aid, agency-free. That's a huge, huge thing for us. And we will need, from time to time, CENA agency just to make sure that we have the number of staff that we need. But we're looking to make that permanent. We replaced over 130 mattresses that were long overdue and 40 beds. That was an investment of almost $90,000 in the residents' comfort. We implemented a CENA advisory team. That's the best of the certified nurse aides that meet with me monthly to explain the ways that they believe we can improve what's happening on the floor. I have many more that I can share with you, but many of the improvements that we made came directly from line staff saying, hey, Kevin, what about this? For example, oxygen, which we had locked on the basement away from all the care, required 2 people to go because our elevators are secure to go down to get oxygen. We moved those up on each of the floors. The nurses and the CENAs love that because they actually have the oxygen on the floor. They can get it quickly and take care of a resident quickly. Just one of many improvements that came from staff recommendations. With that, I open to questions, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Thank you very much. Chair is open for a motion to receive and file. We have by motion by Drollet, support by Toko. Commissioner Kleinfeld.
Thank you, Chair. I'm really excited to see where the quality measures have gone. I do have a question. You've got overall rating, we've gone to 2 stars, and survey is 1. Are they all 5-star categories?
Yes, they are.
Okay, would you explain what survey is?
Certainly. The survey is the state of Michigan, on behalf of the federal government, comes in and looks at our certification for Medicare. The survey process requires them to come in annually and look at us. In addition to that, any concerns under a list, we're required to do what's called a facility reported incident. And we have to put in within 24 hours any injury of unknown origin. So, for example, if there's a bruise on an elbow, we're required to report that. And we have to provide a 5-day report on that. And then they choose to come out or do a desk review. And we could get cited for what they call a deficient practice. And that could be anything from documentation or a process that's missing. Most recently, we received a harm citation because they called our investigation inconsistent and incomplete, even though we had actually showed evidence of 29 people interviewed. They said because we used different forms for interviewing them, that it was inconsistent. So we got a citation on it. So the survey teams come in, and it is a very high bar that they have, as they should, to protect the residents at the facility. But it is one that requires almost perfection, not just excellence. And we are working diligently towards that. The survey process is done annually and every time they choose to come in and investigate a survey or a facility reported incident. When I first started in 2016, we were getting visits weekly from the survey teams looking at facility reported incidents or complaints. By the end of 2016, it was monthly, and in 2017, we had 5 visits total from them.
Okay, do you know what the statewide average is on survey stars?
Well, on the survey process, they have it delineated specifically to the top 10% is 5-star. And
Okay.
And the bottom, the 1-star is 20%. And then they apportion it, and essentially it's on a bell curve. So you could be a 5-star, But if you're right on the edge and somebody else does a little bit better on a survey, you might not have any changes to your survey. And they'll drop
Okay,
it down.
but there's still 80% that have scored above us through the year for these last 3 years. I'm not being critical because I think you've done some major improvements. I'm just trying to learn.
No,
okay?
no, that's correct.
And then the overall rating is the overall rating a combination of survey and quality measures? It's just you're at 2.5 and you haven't hit 3, or is it something else?
That's a great question. It's a combination of the survey, the quality measures, and staffing levels.
Okay. And we don't have staffing levels in here. Is staffing levels also rated with stars?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The next time you give us a report like this, could we have the staffing level section too, so that we
Certainly.
have the complete thing?
Sure. They're 4 stars all the way through.
Okay. 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 So the 4, and the 1 come up to 2.
That's correct, because of the 1 star on the survey. It's the heaviest weighted.
Oh, okay. The stars are weighted. The surveys weighted more heavily than the quality measures.
Yes, they are.
Okay. If there could be some sort of explanation on the weight too, that would be really great.
That would take a lot longer than time I have.
Okay.
But I'll do my best.
No, I didn't mean
But it
you
is-
have to explain the weighting. I just meant just survey is weighed this much. It's 3 sentences. I'm not asking you
okay.
to.
Thank you.
I'm not
'Cause it-
asking you to
explain
give
the
me a
whole-
Because
report.
the manual's about 60 pages.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to know how each one rates.
Okay.
That's all. I don't need a.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sauger.
Yeah, Kevin, what is your current population? And it's
We're at 194 today.
194?
Yes.
And capacity is
We can serve 217.
to 17. Has it been going right along at 190 some, or has it been a drop or
It's been a consistent drop. We've stabilized back up onto the good side of 190. Last year we were down around 183, which creates some significant challenges for us from a staffing and cost level. But part of that is good news, and it travels slowly in the healthcare community. So much like we were still working through some of the issues that clearly Martha T. had, that we were correcting, we are now having staff that are ambassadors for us. Many of you were through the dark days when our staff was not focused on care, they were focused on other things. From what I understand, it was a challenge with the leadership too in communication. All of that bled through. And in addition to those issues, we have a system that is intentionally trying to compress the cost curve by taking people out of the most important and the most costly areas and highest skilled areas to lesser skilled areas. So the hospitals are getting pressure to move them out, and we're getting a pressure to move people out and to not have people come in. What Mr. Olson talked about earlier is a fiscal disincentive that is hitting us with the Medicaid program. The Medicaid program is a nice way of saying it, passively enrolling even some people that are in our building right now. And then we get denied because they don't meet the criteria. We have to re-enroll them, disenroll them from the Healthy Michigan program and get them back into the traditional Medicaid, which is their right to do, but they're not aware of it. They're not aware that they're being passively enrolled into that program too. So there's a lot of stress to move people away. What I'm pleased about is we are one of the few facilities that has the ability to be the safety net for when those fall through. There is a great fight still going on for the Medicare dollars because they're much higher. And one of our benefits is that we're willing actually to take the difficult cases from other nursing homes because they don't want to have to deal with the risk or the financial loss of going to Medicaid. They prefer Medicare and private pay. So it's really been helpful to be that, and that's one of the reasons that we're stabilizing in our census. I do believe that that's our new normal, right around 190. We're budgeting just slightly above that because that's where we have been traditionally. but we are managing to what our census is.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, you stated that, real quick, like they were having you push out different people, depending what their condition is. What category is that?
Oh, well, there's something called a level of care determination tool that's been in place for a number of years, and you have to fit through one of what's called a door. And that means you have to have a specific list of multiple comorbid issues to be able to qualify for skilled nursing, and then you look at your financial components. Now, the financial components haven't changed much, but the skilled positions, the people that used to come to skilled facilities requiring 24-hour care and assist are now being said, well, you can be better served in an assisted living or in a group home. And then the other component of it is the post-acute care people. We used to, as an industry or a caring community, would get a lot from the hospitals, and they're skipping them altogether, saying you don't have to go to a skilled facility for rehabilitation. We can send you home and have somebody stopping at your house once or twice a day. Those are people that used to help subsidize for the loss on the Medicaid side, and because they believe they can do it less expensively in their home, they're moving them. So that's what's happening in some of the ways. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, you're welcome.
All right, any other comments or questions? We have a motion and support to receive and file. Kevin, thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
Do a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Sounds like 12 to 1 to me, 12 to 0 to me.